Now, let's come to the floods, particularly in Accra. But of course, it didn't happen only in Accra. Other parts of the country, particularly in Kumasi, where we are being told also that we should watch out because that will become the next place where we are going to have to continuously record some of these things if actions are not taken immediately. So how many people, 12, 13 people died because of some 3 hours of raindrops? And this is a ritual that you ask whether it's leadership failure or what exactly is going on. I can predict, and let me start with Kweku. Every year when the matter comes up, I start with him. He says, I'm tired. What do I say again? Same template. Kweku, this time don't say that.
Well, I'm going to disappoint you. That's exactly what I'm going to say. I mean, please. It's the same old story being recycled. Of course, perhaps the fatalities that come with it is what would make one insensitive if you decide not to comment, you know. Too many. Look, on this very table, we've done a historical recollection of such incidents from 1959, you recall?
Yeah. Statements read in Parliament that you brought here.
Parliamentary Hansard, it's loaded with those things, lamentations, outdooring of programs and projects to help. And we come back each year during the rainy season to discuss the same old subject. Lament, give out prescriptions and things. What else do you want me to say that I haven't said before? I express my condolences to those who, families who lost their beloved. And I rest my case, please. Let my colleagues deal with it. I'm tired.
What do you say when you hear statement from government suggesting that what's the amount again? 100 and what?
98. Is it the first time you are hearing
there has been set aside. Okay, so I was expecting your answer, but I still had to ask.
We went taking some $200 or $300 million.
$663 million Conti project.
Thank you. That's what I was looking for.
That was supposed to be the savior.
We were told.
And President Mills promised us. He said, "Look, end of this thing."
Yeah, I remember that. What happened? There were even some litigations and things are running. Or nothing works in this country. It's worrying, to be honest with you. Perhaps we should leave this subject matter to the engineers and the
Sad thing though is that the Conti project money, I think by 2015 thereabout, Setekwe had told us that we had been unable to access the money. It was never given.
Yeah. Samson, I'm at my wit's end. I'm sure there'll be more positive contributions from my three colleagues here.
All right.
I'm completely at my wit's end.
Some George.
Something. I'll start with expressing my condolences to the families of the bereaved, especially the family of the couple, military couple, husband and wife, who lost their life last Sunday. When we were off, I told you that I was on the motorway at the same time that accident happened. I was returning from the constituency. It was quite a challenge driving on the motorway with the amount of rain that was falling. So I saw two accidents.
You were on the motorway, but you didn't know that they had been swept away.
They had been swept away
the next
until
day.
the next day.
Okay.
You know, I had encountered two accidents on the Accra-bound lane of the motorway, which I was using.
Okay.
They apparently got swept off on the Tema-bound side of the motorway.
Right.
You know, and it doesn't come as a surprise to me. We've had these conversations several times. The issue of flooding and the issues of what plans are we taking there, I have always grouped them into three. The issue of systems. Do we have systems that work? Because the issue of flooding with Accra is two-pronged. You don't have a comprehensive drainage system around the whole of Accra.
You are engineer by training,
yes.
right? Okay.
Agric engineer, but I specialize in soil and water engineering.
Okay.
You do not have a complete or a comprehensive drainage system around Accra that channels all of the groundwater and moves it into the sea. Now, Accra is also sitting at the base of the eastern plains. So you have all the runoff coming from Ibri coming into Accra. It needs to be channeled somewhere. Now, if you look at the stories that the 57, 58, in Nkrumah's time, there were all of these master plans because those were real challenges at that time. At that time, Accra had a population of less than 500,000 people, and they were having flooding challenges. Today, Accra has a population of in excess of 5 million. So you can imagine, and the infrastructure has really not changed much. So you have the issue of not having proper drainage around Accra. Now, even with your
if
limited...
anything at all, you say the infrastructure has not changed. If anything at all, we have built on the waterways.
On the waterways, absolutely.
having received authorization from local authorities to build.
Absolutely. So, even with the limited drainage system you have, you then have the issue of those drainage systems being clogged by human waste. Now, that comes to the issue of systems. And I've always said this. I have a waste collection company that is supposed to collect my waste on in the early morning hours of Tuesdays every week. I pay my monthly waste collection fee.
Right.
But in the last 3 weeks, every Tuesday I bring my refuse out and they've never come to pick it up. Now the systems are not working because if I'm paying, the toll collector comes to the house every month and takes the money. But for 3 weeks they've not come. So my other alternative would be to either burn the refuse because it's beginning to pile up in the house, or I find a drain and put it in.
Right.
So if you have even areas, and this is supposed to be an area where we have a system to collect the refuse.
No, but sorry, you don't find a drain and put it in. You give it to these other guys who do it, and then
they will find a drain. They will find a drain and put it in.
You cannot trust where they will take it.
Absolutely. You understand me? So those are some of the challenges that you face, the issues of systems. So we need to have proper systems that will work. Proper drainage, proper waste collection, and handling of the waste. Then you have the citizens' part, civic responsibilities. As citizens, we always have our demands of government. Yes, but we also have responsibilities that comes with the freedoms and benefits that we expect to get from government.
Exactly.
You cannot be a citizen, and as soon as you see the rain gather, you are looking for your refuse to put in a drain. And then and I keep saying that, look, until recently, most of the political class who live in cantonments and East Legon and Laboni, until recently, those areas don't flood.
Yeah, until recently, you are right.
Those areas don't flood. The areas that flood are the areas where the mobrawers or the ordinary in the society live. Is it because the elite in the society are responsible enough to know that if they put their refuse in their drains, they will have flooding in their area? So, as citizens, we also have a responsibility to ourselves. Everything must not rest on government.
Right.
Thirdly, and most importantly, is government. You need to see concrete measures taken by government. On Thursday last week, before Parliament rose, the Minister for Works and Housing was given the opportunity to make a statement on the floor of the House. Honorable Atacha, senior person, I respect him a lot, but I disagreed wholly with him because the rains have set in, the early rains have set in. And he came to tell us about how there's 198 million Ghana cedis that he says in his statement was mobilized in 2018 and is going to be used to carry out close to about repair works or desilting of close to over 100 drains which he listed. Now the question I asked myself in Parliament was, you had 198 million Ghana cedis you mobilized in 2018. January, February, March, there were no rains. You didn't do the desilting. The rains have started in April. Now you tell us you are going to do desilting. I look at the cost element and almost all the drains, 100,000 Ghana cedis, it was a flat rate. If you know some of the drains, you know that 100,000 cedis would do absolutely nothing in those drains. So that you ask yourself, why are we spreading ourselves so thin to cover so many drains when you know that, okay, let's focus, we have 197 million. That can help us do 4 kilometers of serious storm drains in central Accra. Get that done this year. And let us solve a problem in a particular catchment area. Next year, we get facilities, we continue. We started the Nima drains under President Mahama. What has happened? It was 85% complete. We left office. That drain has still not been completed. Every time you drive around Kalkudi, you still see it. That would have fixed most of the problems in the Nima area. In the 2018 State of the Nation's address in February 2018, When President Akufo-Addo came to Parliament, he said he had ring-fenced 200 million Ghana cedis to handle and tackle drainage and sanitation problems to tackle flooding. One cedi of that 200 million cedi was not disbursed in 2018. You are in 2019, the minister has come back to promise you 197 million. How do we have any confidence that that will be delivered? And this is not peculiar to only President Akufo-Addo. Let's call a spade because the flooding issues did not start today. Okay. You understand me? Yeah. But my point is, governments must go beyond just talking. If we really want to fix the problems in Accra, we need to get it done. You need to put work. I mean, you look at it, and I'm telling you, Kumasi is going to become the next big flooding issues. Until last year, had you ever seen any flooding issue in Kumasi where the ministry had to go there? If you remember, last year, Asawasi got flooded, Bantama got flooded, Central Kumasi got flooded. Lives were lost in Kumasi, first time. Every time we talk about flooding has been Accra. It's because the topography of Kumasi is different. Accra, because of the runoff into the sea and the kind of vegetation and ground soil we have, it sips a lot of the water. Kumasi is not that way. Kumasi is rocky. And then the receptacles you have in Kumasi that allow channeling of some of the runoff water are now being converted because local authorities have given building permits into residential apartments. Kumasi is a prime zone for not just flooding but even landslides. Takrady is also becoming a major problem because of the booming oil industry and the random building of residential properties to meet the demand. People are building waterways there. Takrady is beginning to flood. Nobody's thinking about Tamale. There's a lot of investment going into Tamale. Nobody's looking at it. And so you see that as a country, we are just engaged in talk shops. Our political elite will come and fly with helis if they can't go by road, or they will come 2 days later. We are interested in disaster management instead of disaster prevention. And you ask yourself, where are we as a people? Even our disaster management agency is one of the poorly funded agencies under government. NADMO many times, look, and I speak with this passion. Last year, I nearly lost my parents. They live in West Legon. If they were not staying in a story building, the building got flooded, the ground floor got flooded, everybody moved upstairs, and the staircase, the first floor got full. The water was rising. So, I tried to get there. I met Abu Ramadan. They were using speedboats. They couldn't even get to where my parents' house was. This is West Legon. You understand me? And so I know that, and the simple reason being, the assembly had given somebody a permission to build a new building in a drain in Hachu, which is where the runoff should have gone. The guy had concretized the ground, and so all the water didn't have anywhere to go. A pregnant woman with her new baby lost her life in that area last year because somebody has built a house there. I mean, this irresponsibility, yes, we would say the buck stops to the president, but it goes beyond the president. That's why he's appointed district chief executives and MMDCs. That's why they have engineers. And look, every time there's these issues, at times, yes, we'll blame the politicians because they have to, but I would ultimately put the blame at the doorstep of the engineers who give the permits. A DCE does not sign a permit if he doesn't get a memo from his district engineer. The district engineer is a trained engineer who must do what is right. And this is the problem of this country. When engineers go to sleep, a country suffers. And that's what's happening.
Okay. Dr. Odrosai, the Accra mayor in March this year said that Accra is not ready for heavy rains. What that tells you is that he knows what to expect. This is not new with him. He said Accra is not ready for heavy rains. But guess what? He says his outfit is not the one that has the resource to do that job. Now we know. The president has confirmed that the 176 million Ghana cedis is given to the Works and Housing Ministry. St. George is saying even the manner they are approaching it, by his observation, is not the best way. Guess what? We are going to come here next year, God willing, and we'll hear same stories. We'll hear monies being released for same purposes. I don't know. Do our leaders feel how this indicts them? Do they?
I think they should, if they are not. Something, you see, I think it is not about the quantum that is released. It is about how the money is used and where the money goes. We are in this country, and we've seen that most of the interventions have not been sustainable. They come in, and we do a firefighting approach. They come in when the rains are there, then after that we go to sleep. What we need as a country is a sustainable flood management system. We manage it before the rains and after the rains, so that it is there. You see, we have a poor spatial planning system in this country. We have worked so hard to have a Land Use and Spatial Planning Act passed, to set up a spatial planning authority. Now it is up to the authority to fully decentralize, so that you go to the district level, you have the district spatial planning authority there, so they'll be able to support the district assembly to rationalize their permitting system. Sam George mentioned the issue of somebody building on drains. At certain times, you may want to resolve the issue. You may want to go in to make sure that this thing does not do the right thing. I can tell you that the politicians comes in. In certain cases, you get a politician who would say that, look, allow the person to continue to build. So that is a challenge. That laced with attitudinal change tells us that, look, as a country, we are in trouble. How do we get out of this trouble? We get out of this trouble by first getting the leader of this country to say that, look, develop a comprehensive flood management system. Regional ministers, chief executives, make sure that you rationalize the permitting system. 3, make sure that NADMO should not be a disaster management institution. They should rather prevent it. And the institution of NADMO should be properly decentralized and integrated within the Assembly's management systems. Once we do this and we follow it up with appropriate and adequate funding, we should be able to resolve the issue. I'm not surprised the AMA mayor is saying this. He's saying this because he knows what to do, but where is the money? Even if he gets the money and he goes in with one intervention, how can he sustain the process? So it's a whole system that we need to build. But where do we start from? We have 2 institutions, a ministry responsible for works and housing and a ministry responsible for sanitation. These 2 ministries will have to put their heads together and develop a comprehensive flood management system for this country. That flood management system should not be implemented in Accra only. It should be decentralized so that we have the regions and the districts involved. Local government chief executives must be involved and make sure that they rationalize their permitting system. Politicians should take their hands off the permitting system and allow the engineers and the chief executive to work as required. Once we are able to do this, I'm sure that we will be able to resolve this issue and will not come back to this table to be talking about management of floods again.
Really? Okay, Ben. So you get the opportunity of traveling, the globe. And when you come home, I don't know how it feels that it's about to rain and you start to panic, even though your house may not be seated on a flood prone area. I don't know, but is there a way to go about this issue in the same way that we decided to mount a campaign against Galamsey?
Thank you. You've given me a very good segue into my thoughts. Let me also associate my sentiments with almost all of us, but specifically our brother Kweku Bako and Sam Jata George MP, to express condolences to the families affected in this latest incident. My prayer, my hope, my desire is expressing these condolences. In the United States, they say thoughts and prayers, that in May, in June, when the heavier rains come, that none of us on this panel will be expressing the same things, that we do not find any political leaders going into affected parts of Accra to go and put on some fake sympathies and other things, that this will not be the case a few weeks from now, number one. Number two, I want to make an appeal to Mr. Kweku Bako. Many people look up to him. He knows many issues. The issues of flooding in Accra are life and death. And my appeal to him when I hear him say,
And I'm not judging or blaming him or criticizing him, but I'm taking a cue from when he says, nothing works in this country. That is a heavy blow to me. I feel as if I shouldn't even be in this studio with him. And he's saying the truth because he's been through things. And when he says that, he may not be a mullah, a malam or mufti. I understand he's an Islamic scholar one way or the other.
We give him malam.
That's an
You confirm.
Malam.
Why does he give you
not yet.
He's not going to shake.
At all.
But he wouldn't be here in this studio if he didn't have a level of faith. My point is, whatever he comes here to do, I understand people are watching us not just in Accra or Ghana, but over the world. I'm appealing to him that no matter how tough, how hopeless, how despairing the situation is, he must always look for a way to give us some hope, even if it's the last bit of hope he can imagine. I'm not, please, I'm agreeing with him. And he's speaking from deep within. He says, I'm at my wit's end. Let the other brothers around the table talk. So that is a side of the flood issue we are coming to. Now,
you are a preacher, so look.
Forgive me.
What you're saying is
Forgive
fine.
me.
I
believe in hope.
But I'll tell you this. That when it gets to the season, as host of this show, I don't get it.
You don't have to be a prophet.
Here and I don't know what question to ask. Okay.
Let me proffer.
Except that
I want to offer some solutions.
Inside myself, I tell myself, what sort of leadership do we have? Okay, but we the people, we give the leaders we deserve. Nonetheless, this is an issue that our leaders keep telling us is not beyond solution. And yet, how many, getting to how many decades we can solve it?
I want to just make two major points. Sam Jatta George mentioned that we should be really worried and concerned because the issue is no longer limited to Accra. The issue, I love being in Kumasi maybe because of the greenery. And I have relatives who for decades lived in Kumasi. He is now warning us that the issue we've been experiencing in Accra is beginning to show up in Tamale, in Takoradi, in Kumasi. And for me, that is a serious red flag. And that is very, very sad. Now, I want to just offer some thoughts. And I hope Dr. Odro Osai and Sam Jatta George and our brother Kweku Bako maybe can, if this doesn't make sense, I want to hear something. We talk about the need for money, and I accept that we need money to do many things. But I listened to a preacher called Bishop Taki Aboy, and he insists that many things are wisdom issues. You don't really need money to solve many of the challenges that come to us. I'm not disputing that we need money, but I am going to challenge us that we need some level of wisdom despite the despairing circumstances that come up. So here is what I'm saying. I've heard the mayor say that unless the mindset of people in Accra change, until we stop dumping refuse from our homes into the gutter in front of our houses, believing that when the floods come, then they will sweep it away to my neighbors, and my neighbor's problem is no longer my problem. And increasingly, that is becoming the mentality in our nation, which when I was growing up, you swept the compound. Okay, I grew up in a village, but you swept the compound and you avoid anything that will mess up the place. So mindset needs to change. But here are three things. We need a short-term solution. There are medium-term things we can do as we are seated here, and there are long-term things. The long-term things are that under a previous administration, the county comprehensive drainage and sewage system, we all agree across party, across anything, that this comprehensive system, we've studied it, we've checked it. If we could get money, $600 and whatever million, this will definitely solve the problem, even as we try to sort out planning and ugly, careless building across the place. So that is long term. We need to have that, revise it, review it, and just say that no matter which government comes to power, as far as Accra is concerned, all the experts have looked at it. This system, across party, maybe the National Development Planning Commission can look into this and say, whatever you agree with politically or not, this will solve the problem. So that's long term. Let me come to short term. Even whilst we don't have money, I am strongly of the conviction that when we have our meteorological colleagues who are the experts able to give us facts to say the rains we are anticipating are going to be bigger than the rains last year, that is enough information for all of us to sit up. We don't need money. Even I, living in New York, I'm able sometimes to go on Google and find out the weather in Accra, where the heavy rains are. I'm at work, and I can just go on the computer, and I'm able to see across Nigeria, Togo, coming into Ghana, that there is this red dot moving east, coming in. We don't need too much to be able to judge fairly. And by the way, last Sunday, I have a confession to make. I was driving from Tema in the rain. So I live in Bachona, but I couldn't go to Bachona. I had to come to the toll near Tetekwashi. As I was driving from the Tema side, approaching the Tetekwashi toll booth, 2 cars had crashed into each other. And I was the second car about to get into a pileup. So the drivers, I saw there was nothing fatal. The drivers had come out and they were motioning to all of us to stop. The guy in front of me went. I rushed to the toll booth to seek help, to say, something has happened. Please call a number. If I knew 911 worked in Ghana, I would have stopped by these people, but I rushed to the toll booth. I don't want to tell you the attitude I found from the people. And I'm saying, please, which number can you call? And some, Lord, I felt sad because I was afraid there would be a pileup behind me. In the end, they gave me, I think, 1855. I called the police saying, please, send somebody. They told me, no, that jurisdiction is Tema. And I argued with them and said, no, it's closer to Accra. And I'm having this, and I am in the rain.
Yeah.
No, forgive me.
understand you.
Then I'm calling 1855. And then the police officer at the toll, when I was anxiously telling him there are lives at stake, these 2 vehicles have come across the motorway. I live in New York. Within a time limit, fire truck, ambulance, and others have come. If they could save you within 10, 15 minutes, they would.
Yeah.
I want the same thing in Ghana. But the attitude I found, I talked to the toll booth attendant. He said, well, the police is there. One was on the phone. I'm crying out that somebody is about to die. Then I went round in the rain to the police. Anyway, I did all that, called them. The police did eventually call me as I was driving back to come to Community 18 Junction. And the Community 18, and in fact, I saw some people gathered around the bridge there. I didn't know that was the place where the soldier couple had actually gone.
Okay.
I didn't know.
Okay.
At this point, I was concerned about the accident I had seen. They did call me back twice. This whole argument, it is Tema's jurisdiction. And I'm saying, no, it will be quicker for you to send somebody.
Right.
I went through all that.
Right.
I went through that. So the short term, Meteo has told all of us the rains are going to be bigger this year. Somebody, the mayor's office, must vow, never under my watch should people die this year. And somebody will take a bet in Canada and say, I told you every year this thing happens. Number 2.
The mayor, what can he do?
The mayor, all of us.
This is not within him.
Samson, I'm coming. You said you've done this every year, and I don't begrudge you. I'm coming to say something. My sister, who looked after me in school, lives in Abelempe. She sold in Santana Market and supported me in school. In Abelempe, closer to the big drain, you have this place where every year you have people drowning and all manner of things. I drove to Abelempe along that place now. You know, the gutter has been done. I don't know whether under President Rawlings or under, it's been done. And if you go, the plants in one section that I saw is something I saw abroad. I felt good going back now. People are no longer flooded.
Okay.
That's the point I'm trying to make. that we have the solution, it can be done. So here is what I'm proposing. Joy Multimedia, City FM, Ghana Broadcasting. Can you dedicate between now in April through May and June, when the heavy rains are coming, that you will take all the facts available to you through Google and through Meteo and say that for loud, right, and clear, we are sending out this message. By the way, an assessment should be done about the most vulnerable parts along the Odo River. Okay. Every year, these places are always flooded. The mayor must say that I will give enough advance notice, whether it's 12 hours, 24 hours, nobody must perish.
Yeah, in March, he did that about the Odo area.
This needs to
because he said, look, I can't guarantee it, but just stay away.
Samson, we in the media must take this, even if we leave the mayor aside, leadership by the media. Let, at the end of May, if somebody drowns, let it not be said that the media did not do enough to raise the alarm and let people know something must be done. Okay. School halls that can be used for emergency location, they must be identified. There must be a drill to say, these people in Agbogloshi, your place will definitely flood. We don't need a prophet to tell us these places will flood. But here, let's pretend that the floods have come and we see the flood coming. Here is what you do. You go, by the way, let me end with New York. 2012, Hurricane Sandy was coming to New York. Let me tell you, the weather forecasters predicted what time of the day the heavy rain will start, what it was going to do. The mayor and leadership of New York City, using this information, decided the subway system that is used in New York, they anticipated it would be flooded. The images of carriages, train carriages, subway carriages full of people drowned in a submerged subway, made the people decide by this time, this evening, the subway system will not be working. If they had not done that, beyond the 50+ people who died, you would have been talking about hundreds. Okay. Somebody would have lost their job. Right. By the way, a Ghanaian who was working hard and went to his car park, underground car park, he perished in one of those things. But what I'm saying is, with the right information, the right leadership, you may not prevent the disaster completely, but you are able to save lives. Without money, there is something we can do. Let the media, I'm pleading, raise the alarm. Okay. Continue to raise the alarm.
Thank you.
Tell people what they must do. So whilst we wait for money, we are helping ourselves.
Thank you very much. And the politicians, the question is whether they are selling us solutions or they are actually compounding our problems. You heard Dr. Rose Osai talk about the same attitude with the Galamsey, where politicians will make interventions. Now, I do not have his permission to put his details out, but there is an engineer of the state who just sent in a message. He says, can you please tell the politicians to allow us to do our job? And he mentions specific areas where certain constructions were being put up. And he made an intervention in pursuance of the law. Guess what? He was shut down. And he feels the pain that the thing is causing problems, but he will not be allowed to do his work. When he attempts to do his work, somebody knows some politician. They'll call them and they'll make an intervention. They'll say, don't touch, leave the man to do his job. So what did you want to say? You guys, are you giving us solutions or problems, really?
I was coming to buttress this, and me, I always say that, look, yes, I can't run away from being called a politician, but I'm a citizen first and foremost. I was an ordinary citizen before I became a member of parliament. And I still try to think many times like a citizen. The reality of the case here is, in my earlier submission, I was hard on engineers because I believe that we need to build the systems.
Right.
But there are also instances where engineers build the systems, try to implement the systems, and politicians come in and shut the engineers down. Okay? So we need to, as a country, but you see, you don't have the moral right as citizens to make so much of demands on the political class when you as citizens are not even being responsible.
Because it is a citizen who is calling a politician.
Who is calling the politician
to say that I am being stopped from doing the wrong thing.
Absolutely.
And the politician jumps in.
Absolutely. I mean, in my district, I can give you a typical example of my district where someone is building on a waterway and he's getting politicians to intervene in the matter.
Right.
When an engineer is trying to stop the instance. And so these are problems that we would face and live with. And you see, the politician is always the problem. Although, we're talking about Odo. Did Odo not flood June 3rd? Did we not see Ghanaian intervention? Ghanaian business people wanting to go in there and do their own private thing. Okay. Did we not play politics with it? Are we not back to the same place again? For me, you see, the problem of this country, and this may be putting it too tritely, is basically the political class. We have the power to effect the change, but we're not using the power that we have to effect the change. We're rather using it to compound the problems that we need to fix. And until and unless we're willing, and you see, at the end of the day, something, whether we like it or not, the buck will stop with the guy with ultimate authority, the president. If the president today decides that I am embarking on a certain drive, and that's why I side with Uncle Ben. The media was the one that got the president to start Operation Vanguard. With all of his flaws, he started it. Maybe the media may be the one to draw the attention of the political class, be it NDC or NPP, to say, look, don't try to come and give us a political green book or blue book or red book that will show us the number of kilometers of drains you've constructed that are open drains. There's a reason why in New York you don't have open drains. They do closed drains because they know that the citizens, if the drains are open, will put refuse in there. But if it's closed, they won't put anything in there. But closed drains are more expensive. And
but they last.
But they last.
And they save lives.
But you see, the politician in Ghana here is not looking at constructing 100 kilometers of closed storm drains when he can use the same funds to construct 400 kilometers, which is more politically correct. So he will do open drains 400 kilometers and create a bigger problem.
Let me share some messages, then I will take a break at this point. Malik says the announcement of the money is how we tackle issues. Whenever an issue crops up, we make a big announcement of a large sum. The politicians pat themselves on the back for their announcement. Party communicators go into overdrive. Praise sing. We all go to sleep, and mostly the money is not even released. There is a false belief that money provide automatic solutions to problems. Question really is, when the monies are made available, do they go where exactly they are supposed to go to? And these are either loans or aid. Nana Boating in Milton Keynes says that we have heard all these before, but it's high time persons in charge of authority are held responsible or prosecuted for irresponsibility. Persons in authority prosecuted for irresponsibility. You know, that's a difficult one you can't get in this part of the country. We have heard some leaders elsewhere say the reason corruption fight works in other places is that they prosecute the people at the top, not the tokenism we see around here. Spike in Cincinnati, Ohio, in the USA, says that the Galamsey menace is heartbreaking. Government after government have failed to kill it because that is where their cocoa is. Trust me, posterity will not spare these greedy politicians involved. Musa Abato in Kumasi says, assuming Aisha Huang was a Ghanaian who carried out the illegal activity in China, was she to be deported? Okay, and then let to go? Or if she's an NDC member, will the Attorney General issue noli prosequi? We are in leadership crisis. Hashtag Newsfile. Benjamin Osei Jamra in Edinburgh, it says that I doff my hat for the Chinese ambassador for such bold statements of truth. I think we need it as a country to become tough in the fight against Galamsey. He has officially given the government the permission to do what it is afraid of, and that is pushing the Chinese because of diplomatic relations. Well, he said it, that in South Africa, they also have gold, and they are better in mining than we do. But the Chinese have not taken over that place. Eliasu in Tamale says, polluting the water, endangering lives of everyone else because of their parochial interest. When ban was enforced, they threatened government with elections and so on. That could be the greatest blackmail. The fight against Galamsey was and is real still. Akwesi Obeng in Ejuso Bisasi says, I am surprised. Dr. Eric Odrosai said he's not satisfied with the fight of Galamsey. Doc, the problem has existed for many years, and you want the president to use months or a year to uproot it? The roadmap the government has put in place is working so far. So far, the Galamsey fight is better than where this government inherited. Aisha was arrested about 5 times during NDC's era, but she was released without prosecution and continued the Galamsey. So it is better she has been deported. Okay, thank you. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. This is Newsfile, your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. My guest, Ben Doche Malo, Dr. Eric Odrosai, Sam Nete, George, and Kwekubako. Thank you very much for keeping your dials here. And you have tons of messages that you have brought in, particularly about the Galamsey fight and the flood issue. And it's all about expressing concerns and worries, and some of you are even saying things that we cannot actually, share with the public, including those of you who are suggesting a setting uprising over leadership. Over leadership, please. Let's all do our part and make sure that it works.